Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Grenada Matters, the weekly show that we have discussing the injustices on the island of Grenada. I have with me in the room once again the Grenada Empowerment Movement leader, Earl Maitland. Earl, how are you? Okay, good morning, good afternoon.
I'm fine. Thank you once again, Ingram, for having us here. As we continue to have this series of discussions where we would give victims of police brutality and assault in Grenada, where we would give them a voice, right? So a pleasant good day to everyone who's viewing. I'm just taking this time to share the video so that others may be able to see and others will be encouraged to come forward despite the many injustices that one would face at the hands of police officers in the Royal Grenada Police Force, right? So thank you once again. Today we have with us Mr. Curtis Thomas. Mr. Curtis Thomas and I have become very good friends over the years. It is very remarkable the way that persons would meet in life, you know, and how good they will become. You know, Mr. Thomas is a father. He's a husband. He's a good friend. He's an uncle. He's just like the average law-abiding citizen who has been trying to get through life in Grenada as a law-abiding citizen, you know. And we are going to discuss today or share with you, the public, Mr. Thomas's most unfortunate encounters with members of the Royal Grenada Police Force. And we are going back to the date of sometime in 2013, the year 2013. To date, we do believe that it is necessary to speak of such because Mr. Thomas still is seeking justice as it relates to the injustice that he continues to face even since 2013. So, Mr. Thomas, a pleasant good day. How are you today?
Good afternoon and good morning to you and Ingram also and the listening public. Well, as I told you, I'm not that very well, but I'm happy to be here. Happy I'm alive to join with you and Mr. Ingram relating my matters. Thanks for having me, and also in advance thanks to the listening public for listening and viewing.
Thank you for taking the time to come back and discuss your matter. It's one that is very distressing, and one that the public need to hear about, and one that needs justice.
So the thing is, you know, Mr. Thomas, as we just had a few more persons joining us, you know, I just reintroduced again. This is Mr. Curtis Thomas, a father and an elder in the community. One that, you know, is very hardworking. He's law abiding, and he has had the most unfortunate encounters with members of the RGPF since even before 2013, and these unfortunate encounters continue. And I can really testify to the struggles Mr. Thomas has had in his pursuit to justice, right, as it relates to the Royal Grenada Police Force. Mr. Thomas will first share his story, and then at some points I will let the listening public know exactly what measures were taken into consideration. For instance, Mr. Thomas even went to the Governor General of Grenada. You know, whatever her name is, a very irrelevant person. I even forget the lady's name, you know. But Mr. Thomas, just tell us, you know, on that most unfortunate day in 2013, which you have brought to the attention of the public many times, and it is so disappointing that you have gone through great lengths to sensitize the public and seek so much intervention from these offices that we have here, including the Community Relations Department of the RGPF. And today, 7 years later, you have still not been afforded justice at the hands of our public service. Mr. Thomas has also, and I'm sure he would verify with you, that in going to the Public Service Commission to report the injustices that he has faced, he was also told, like myself, someone who seeks justice in Grenada, that he should seek asylum outside of Grenada. Right now, this is what victims in Grenada are being told by persons in the Public Service Commission, that we must seek asylum in a different country, right? So, Mr. Thomas, you know, let me give you an opportunity to just let us know what had happened in 2013. Hold on, Ingram, unmute him. Curtis, go ahead.
Okay, then. Thanks once again to you and the listening public and Ingram and the others that I'm joining. Well, it's my pleasure because I'm to share this story from after the 24th of March 2013. I never forget what happened, and all up to now, it's continue to face that injustice. On that very sad day, it was a Sunday, I sitting on my step, sharpening a cocoa knife, whereby I have animals, are preparing to go and take care of my animals and so on. Up come a pickup, on the unidentified pickup, pulled up in the gap. Two gentlemen come from the vehicle, one step down to the yard and stood away from me and said, "Good evening, Mr. Curtis." I said good evening to him. He said he wanted to have a word with me. So I said to him, "Speak, I'm listening." He then said to me, "I cannot stay that far so to speak to him." So immediately I simply stop the sharpening. I get up, take up my cutlass and the cocoa knife, climb the stairs, and I get inside to the kitchen. While going into the kitchen, the gentleman called again. Curtis, I want to have a word with you. I say, you just asked to speak to me and I give you the okay. I said, "Speak, I'm listening." And you refuse. Look at, so I continue and I went inside. And the gentleman run up the step, get into the veranda, fighting to open my door. So I asked him to leave. While pulling the door, I grab onto it, ask him to let go my door and leave my place. He pulled out a firearm. So I then said to the...
So let me just cut you for a second, right? Just kind of breaking up. So I just wanted to clarify something. You said that you were sitting on your step, right?
Yep.
And a vehicle pulled up. And I noticed you said that the vehicle was unidentified. When you say unidentified, exactly what do you mean? Just for the persons that are here, so they could follow. When you say it was unidentified.
Sorry, it was an unmarked vehicle. There wasn't no mark on it.
Mm-hmm.
know that it was from the Ministry of Works, whatever Royal Grenada Police Force, if it's
Okay. Okay.
authority vehicle, no such. And even the individual that came in the vehicle was in civilian clothes.
So basically, as you have always stated, that a vehicle came to your place of residence, two gentlemen in civilian clothes came out.
Yeah.
That vehicle that they traveled in did not have any markings. It was not marked, as you just said, Ministry of Works, Ministry of Health, RGPF, nothing of the sort, right?
Nope.
Now, you have also stated that one of the gentlemen said he wants to speak to you. He needs you to come to him to speak to him.
Yeah.
Your response was, "Speak, I am listening."
Listening.
Which there's nothing wrong about that, because I mean, 7 years ago you would have been an adult male, right? Correct? You would not have
Yeah.
been a child, and this is not how someone is. No one is bound to follow any orders or any requests like that, right? Now, did any of the gentlemen identify themselves as a police officer or show any type of identification to say that you were a police officer before you got up to go inside?
Well, to be honest, speaking, as a result, I had to step out because I didn't know who they were. Because no identification card was shown to me. They didn't identify themselves to say who they were. So that's the main reason I really walked out. Because
Okay, so you're breaking up a bit, right? So basically, I heard you say no, that you were not sure who they were, so that is why you got up and you left. No.
Yeah, I did not know who they were.
Yeah, I heard you say something about the gentleman pull out a weapon.
Yeah, but in so doing saying Earl, when he did that, when I walked away from him, step up in the veranda, I had looked towards the road, and I noticed one of them who was standing away from the vehicle with something, similar, resembling a gun, a firearm, a long firearm. And then I had made some remarks as to whoever, because suggesting, I say, it's only people from there that would have this sort of firearm coming. I noticed that, so I say, whoever it is, they would have to go and make complaint to go and say what they is doing before they come to my place, tell the commissioner or whoever what they is doing, before they come. They had never identified themselves. They had never shown ID card, any sort, So I couldn't prolong or walk to the gentleman knowing that he didn't identify himself. I don't know who he is. So all I had to do is to go inside my house. And so the gentleman proceeded inside of my house, and later on I was knocked out, go unconscious.
Hold on, before you go on. You say that the gentleman came inside of your house, right? Now, when he entered the house, right, did he, at that point, he didn't present any identification that he was a police officer or an inspector from the Ministry of Health or anything, correct?
No. Not at
No, the next thing. So I am assuming that he did not present a warrant to enter your house as well.
No sort of thing.
Okay, so this unidentified person came into your house without a warrant, without identifying themselves, and you said they knocked you out. So just explain to me what led up to that, please. And the thing is, we have this false sense of immunity, right? This false sense of immunity in Grenada, where we have persons in the public service believing that they can do anything that they choose, right? which is a really sad case, but I'll comment on that after. So just tell us from the point where you went in the house and the person came into your house, please.
Realized that I walk away, and I went inside, and he come opening the kitchen door to get inside, and I asked him to leave my premises, but because when I left outside, I had a cutlass in my hand. So when I asked him to leave, the cutlass was in my hand. So I pulled the door away from him because he was holding me. I pulled the door, and he noticed that I still have the cutlass in my hand. So he pulled out his firearm. But I happened to left the kitchen, and I asked one of my children to get me my phone so that I could call my lawyer. But by the time I say that, asked to get the phone, I myself moved from the kitchen, and I went in the room because my phone was on the bed. I went into the room, I took up the phone, and I rested the cutlass on the bed. And I came back out in the living room, and I sat on a 3-seater chair, dialing that number to get to. I'm looking for the number to get to the person I want to. And the gentleman come in the front door, in the veranda, and pushing the door. So my daughter heard the conversation, and she left the bedroom and come out. She was asleep, and asked what happened. So I asked her to push the door for me, please. And when I said that, the gentleman pushed the door. So I had to push the door on her, and I get up. The same time, the door of the lock on the door hooked onto the towel that she had fully in herself. So she had to run back inside. And this is from where this scuffle started. When I rushed to the door, I received a blow in my face with a firearm in his hand. And from there, I did not know what happened from after that.
Right. Let me just stop here again, please. Let me just stop here. So for the persons that viewing, you know, and we heard you say that you had a cutlass in your hand. You know, some people might be thinking, you know, Mr. Curtis Thomas is a gangster. Right?
Yeah.
So just tell us what exactly you do for a living and why you had a cutlass, just to let the persons know why you were in possession of a cutlass.
Well,
and of course, before you say that, what a cutlass is, because some people might not know what a cutlass is. So explain what a cutlass is, please.
Well, as I said earlier on, I was sharpening this cutlass and the cocoa knife to go to look after my animals, because I cannot go to look after my animal without a cutlass. The cocoa knife is as a result to pull down vine and so on from trees for the animals, some of the animals, you know. So leaving from outside now, the cutlass was leaning on the stepper when the gentleman say what he say, and I give him the okay to speak. Richie refused. I took the cutlass up from behind my back, and I came inside with it. That is how I had the cutlass in my hand. I walk away from him with the cutlass in my hand.
So right, so I just verifying that you're not a gangster. You were no threat.
No.
Cutlass because you're a farmer that were tending to your animals.
Yep.
I actually walked away from the unidentified gentleman in the unidentified vehicle. Right, so you were no threat, but this gentleman further approached you, came into your yard, came up your step of your personal home, of your private home, pushed open your door, did it in such a way that your young daughter, how old was your daughter? At that time in 2013, how old was your daughter in 2013?
Caroline, I think Caroline was probably going to school still, you know. I don't remember. I mean, she could have been somewhere around 17, I think, you know.
Yeah, okay, so around 17, pushed the door open and exposed the body of your young daughter who was wearing a towel.
Yeah.
Took a gun, right? A weapon, a gun, without identifying himself, entered your house, not only entered your house, but pushed his way into your house without a warrant, right? And then knocked you out with a gun? This is what you're saying to us, Mr. Thomas.
Yeah, yeah, because when I rush to the door, first thing is that I received that blow on my face, and I when I received the blow, well then we had a scramble, and from there I did not know what happened. Is when I recovering from the from that shock, I heard a voice from afar, and something was resting on my chest, and I recognized my son's voice. He was telling me everything going to be all right, you know. And I heard one of the gentlemen said to cuff him, you know, and they put handcuff on me while recovering from that shock, from that blow, and they started dragging me down the step, you know, who hold my hand, who hold my foot, and going down, and my back was also bouncing on the edge of the step, you know, in the way that they was handling me, and take me to the transport and put me in the back of the vehicle, and I started receiving blows in my face again while I have the handcuff in my hands, you know.
You know, Mr. Thomas, so you said that they drag you down the step after they handcuff you. They drag
Yep,
you down the step
yep,
like a bag of potatoes, right?
yeah,
Not a human being, but like a bag of potatoes, right? Yeah, they placed you into the police, into the unidentified vehicle.
yep.
Now, could you tell me that when they had placed the handcuff on you, did they tell you that you were under arrest or anything like that?
No, not at all. Not at all.
All right. Now, for you know, for the persons that not aware, in order to effect the arrest, if the persons are properly trained police officers, they are supposed to tell the person, at least touch the person and tell them you are under arrest, and tell the person why they are under arrest, right? But this, as we can clearly hear, did not happen in the case of Mr. Curtis Thomas, a father in front of his two children. Your spouse was also there, Mr. Thomas?
They experienced, they see all what happened, because they later told me that I didn't know and know when those things was happening. I received number of kicks and so on in my back, in my chest, and so on. All my mouth was bust up, and so on, blood in my eyes, and so on. The eyes was swollen, and
Well,
so on.
Mr. Thomas, the thing is, this is not unusual in Grenada. The RGPF, this is a normal thing. This is like a normal day. This is what is so disappointing. This is like a normal day. I mean, we had a gentleman named Kim Caesar, who was just walking along Lagoon Road in 2016. He actually did a news clip, right? 2016 or 2017, walking along Lagoon Road, an unidentified vehicle pulled up, which turned out to be a police vehicle. And they just demanded that he handed over the drugs, as they said, right? Hand over the drugs. They took this gentleman, placed him in the unidentified vehicle, which turned out to be a police vehicle, brought him to Fort George at the police headquarters, and threatened this gentleman, right, by telling him that it's either he hands over the drugs or they hang him, right? Or they hang him. And they even threatened to go and get a rope, right? Now, these are the kind of police officers that we're trying to ensure get out from under the getting salaries from the taxpayers. This is ridiculous, right? So this is a normal day. I mean, we just had a gentleman last week that was saying his brother, his 20-year-old brother, was killed, right? And said to be found hanging in a police station. No one was charged. Not one police officer was charged. There was no proper investigation. The gentleman went on to the news last week and with the response that we got from Mr. Vanny Cohen of CRD is that an investigation was done and that these documents for the investigation were made public. Now, the family was refused these documents. They were refused, right? But Mr. Vanny Cohen last week is saying that these documents are public documents. He is also saying that a jury was called in. Now, the family of that young man that was found hanging in CID in 2015 were never informed of any court trial or any investigation. So, Mr. Thomas, this is the kind of police officers that we have in Grenada and in some cases around the world. And we want to get these people out of the public offices because we really do appreciate police officers who protect and serve our citizens. So I really feel the pain that you are going through, Mr. Thomas, you know, and in fact, for the persons who are here today, you know, I have been with Mr. Thomas after seeing Mr. Thomas approximately 3 years ago on the show ride along with Junior George. Mr. Thomas made a plea for help. And the RGPF has become so comfortable in these corrupt activities that they continue to establish in Grenada as the norm. Mr. Thomas, even today, has not gotten anywhere. He has not gotten justice. I mean, we have gone to the Royal Grenada Police Force. We have gone to the Commissioner's office, Mr. Edwin Martin, who is presently there, Mr. Winston James, who was there previously, Mr. Vanny Cohen, who is the gentleman that sits and tells victims to come forward and speak on police brutality. He would get things done. We have gone to this gentleman. We have gone to Mr. Sylvan McIntyre. We have gone to the Public Service Commission, where Mr. Thomas was told that he should seek asylum instead of the persons in the public service actually doing their jobs and executing the duties that we have on the books, right? And this is not something that we need to guess about. This is actually on the law books. It's there in the police regulations, and specifically in Regulation 33 of the Police Act. It speaks to disciplined persons.
So what they're telling Mr. Thomas, let me get this right. What they're telling Mr. Thomas is that he, the victim, the police are meant to protect him. He should seek asylum. Basically, he should pick himself up and go to another country or another island, move all his belongings, move his whole life, his whole lifestyle and his family, and set up shop somewhere else. Yet the taxpayer and himself are paying for the police to protect him. So if they're not protecting the people of Grenada, then who are the police protecting? I ask you that question.
Well, that is a good question. Who are the police officers really protecting in Grenada? That is a good question. You know, I have asked myself that many times, and based on what I have seen, it is really hard to tell. It is really hard to tell, you know, especially when we have the majority of cases, justice is sometimes served. Many victims, including Mr. Curtis Thomas, we have gone to Mr. Trevor Modest, we have gone to Mr. Jessamine Prince. Now, these are assistant commissioners of police, right? Mr. Thomas eventually was able to make a complaint at the Community Relations Department, of course, with my help, because when you look at a farmer that comes into a public office, such as prestigious as the Royal Grenada Police Force, of course, that person will be refused service, right? This is the type of Grenada that we have. So with my assistance, Mr. Thomas and I went in as two Grenadian nationals that were just seeking justice. And we were able to get the forms filled out, the complaint done, the official complaint. And then guess what, Ingram? Guess what happened? the police officers allowed 3 months to pass. They allowed 3 months to pass. And then they told Mr. Thomas that there can be no charges because the statute of limitation has come into play and nothing can be done. Right? This is what they normally do to people.
Also, sorry, could you have gone through the opposition party to file a report? So if it'd gone through another political party, then would that have had any difference in the outcome? Because now it's a political party that is advocating for Mr. Thomas.
On the contrary, Ingram, now when I saw Mr. Thomas years ago, this was not a political party. It was simply just me as a charity organization doing what needed to be done. Right? This charity has evolved into a political party because of the injustices that we continue to face as human beings in Grenada. Like I said, we did go to the Governor General's residence, the La Grenada lady, you know, and she refused. She refused, although constitutionally she has an obligation. She refused. No, I can possibly see why she was selected by the leader of the current administration, right? We went to the Prime Minister's office. You know, that's one of my favorite places to go. We went to the Prime Minister's office. We were passed on to his head of security, who has now recently been charged for sexual misconduct or molestation of persons. But this is who we were passed on to, and nothing was done. So it was basically come tomorrow. Curtis, what time were we invited to go there when we went to the Prime Minister's office?
We supposed was to be there 8 o'clock in the morning.
We were invited there at the ministerial complex, the 6th floor, right? We went to see the Minister of National Security to say, you know what, this gentleman has been assaulted by police officers. His rights have been violated by police officers since 2013. And since nothing has come out of it, the officers at the Gove police station, some of them, have continued victimizing Mr. Thomas for the next 7 years, which leads us to today, in 2020. This is still happening. So this gentleman, this father, right, this law-abiding citizen, this hard-working farmer and taxpayer has to continue being victimized by the RGPF, right? This really needs to stop. Now, I believe in most cases, you know, in most cases, these officers don't even know the laws that mandates the duties of their officers. Now, go ahead.
The more I listen to these incidents in Grenada, the more I'm convinced there's some sort of a hit squad that's going out. Hit squad and getting people that are vulnerable, or they haven't got the money to pay for solicitors. So they attacking vulnerable people that will not dare get advocacy, or just underdogs. That's what it seems to me. It seems to me, because these two people just turn out randomly out of nowhere and then come to Mr. Thomas's house and attack him. Another man walking down the street randomly gets attacked. This sounds like a hit squad. This sounds very deliberate. They know exactly what's going on. It's planned. But why? That's the question we want to know. Why is it happening? Why is it a hit squad? What is it that would make them come to Mr. Thomas's house? What was it that made them attack that person? There must have been something. They didn't just do it. There must have been. This sounds like it was planned. It was planned from beginning to end. From beginning to end. And they were all in on it from the start.
Now, you know, I know Ingram, that this continues to happen because of the level of comfort and immunity and brotherhood that they have in corruption, right? Now, I remember having to leave St. George, right, the parish of St. George, and having to drive up to the Guelph police station to get some police officers to take a statement from Mr. Thomas. Although the law says that Mr. Thomas has a right to give a statement, right? Now, we need to continue saying these things on the program so our civilians are aware. Regulation 116, you have a right to give a statement, and that statement must be pursued by the law enforcement team. I had to leave St. George's and drive up to Guelph Ingram, St. John's, about 30 to 40 minutes away, just to go into the station with Mr. Thomas to make sure that they took his statement, when the law specifically says that they have to do it. Now, there is an officer, a gentleman that was in the community relations department, Mr. Trevor Rodney. He was a good officer. He was a good officer. In fact, he told me personally that he instructed Corporal Dupree. I believe Corporal Dupree is still attached to the Guelph police station. He instructed him to go to Mr. Thomas's house, right? Mr. Thomas walked into the police station and presented video evidence of someone attacking and threatening to kill him and his son. It was recorded on a phone. It was put on a laptop. He brought the recorded evidence into the police station. He brought it into the CRD, that wonderful place that Mr. Vanny Cohen welcomes the public to come and speak about the inefficiencies of the police force. To date, Mr. Thomas has not gotten justice for any case that he has reported. We went to the ombudsman's office, Mr. Mary Shaw and Miss Miller themselves drove up to the Guelph police station to find out why is it that they continue victimizing Mr. Curtis Thomas. Why is it that Mr. Thomas has to continue coming into her office and going to many offices and breaking down in tears, right? Speaking about the injustices that he is facing as an adult in Grenada, in his own country. They actually drove up to there, right? With a little pressure applied, they drove up to the Guelph police station. They asked for a report from the Guelph police station, right? As to what is going on with Mr. Curtis Thomas. Why are his complaints not being heard? Why are they not being filed? The Ombudsman's office in 2018 or 2019, late 2018 or early 2019, I have all the notes written down. I don't have it here with me in Antigua, but it's home, right? They received a letter, the Ombudsman received a letter from the Commissioner's office stating that they have no complaints and nothing on Mr. Thomas. Right there and then, Mr. Thomas and I were able, Mr. Thomas was able to pull out his police complaint form, a copy of it that was issued by the same Royal Grenada Police Force who said that Mr. Thomas had no complaints inside, right? Now, Ingram, just take a second to think about that. Just take a second and think about that.
Check this out for 1 second, though. As I see, these are people, these are not police officers, these are rogues, these are gangs. With gangs, usually there's some sort of like initiation, some sort of, you've got to prove yourself. You've got to go and do something to somebody, and then afterwards you're part of the gang, you'll get promoted, you'll get paid more. And the sick thing is, because these people are so sick on the island, I wouldn't be surprised if what happened to Mr. Thomas and continues to happen to Mr. Thomas as he is vulnerable, that these people are getting rewarded for it. These people have been rewarded like it's some game. So they get other people to go along, you know, next two to go along, go and attack these people, and afterwards you attack them. Nothing will happen to you because it's all in-house. We just got to see whether you've got the stomach to be a part of this police force. And it sounds sick. And using members of the public, vulnerable members of the public, as guinea pigs. But it's pretty much believable when you think about it. Planned attacks, not random, these are planned attacks, clearly. And they know who they're picking, and they know who they're targeting. So this is planned, this is orchestrated. And it's at Mr. Thomas's expense and many others' expense as well. Because it's sickening.
You know, and one of the problems that we have is that Mr. Thomas went to get the services of an attorney. And that attorney, Mr. Thomas, just tell the story. When you went to court and the prosecutor, who was a police officer, referred to you as what was it? As a thief, was it? Right, Ingram, unmute him. Curtis, hold on, we can't hear you yet. Just. Go ahead, Curtis.
Yes, it is a fact. He then said in the court, in a huge crowd of people, that I'm a thief, you know, and it seemed like whatever he was saying is not a custom thieving, you know. But in so saying, let me cross that part of it. Let me give you a part of that story where with the folks that step in with the vehicle when I was placed to the back of the vehicle. Now there was because the question asks who the police is protected. So I would answer that a part of that. When that incident took place, there was a female officer on the scene. The female officer had witnessed the blows that I was getting in my face. She then called out to the officer and asked him what he doing, the gentleman what he's doing, you know. And my family member had reported that in the station. She normally used to greet them and so on, greet the family. So when she came a couple days after, maybe from her days that probably she's spending, or whenever she meet the wife, she refused to greet her. She keep her enemy as a result of saying, look at what happened. So there and then nothing happened and they are wrong, and seeing that anything happened that they would try to put a stop to it or a thing, they continue to ignore the family members. And so as a result of that, even when I was brought to the station in Guam, they had threatened to come back to arrest my family member, and claiming that they was interfering. So that I guess what they was doing is trying to scare the family off, because even when she went to CID to give the report, there was words that was using to them in effect that if they go and make false statement, they could be prosecuted and go to prison, you know. So I realized that they were trying to frighten the family member and so on. So as a result of that, the family gets scared, and it's kind of hard for them to, you know, to stand up with me to try to defend what is going on, because they themselves is scared. I'm telling you right about now, where they are here, Earl and Ingram, they are scared. They doesn't want to, because they keep telling me they don't want police to be coming in their yard anymore. They think so, you know. They always asking me, you know, even folks come up to me, walk away from them though. And Rich is doing over the years, you know. So I had to try my best to avoid those things.
You see, I I fully understand what you're saying because I cannot trust the Royal Grenada Police Force. I cannot trust them. In fact, I am scared. You never know what these corrupt individuals will do. You never know at what point in time they might beat you to death and just say that, they found you hanging in a cell after you was detained. Because we know that investigations will not be done properly. So it is scary. It is scary. But we have to be encouraged to stand as law abiding citizens, as men, and speak in the interest of justice. This is what our patriotic duty requires us to do. This is what God requires us to do, to speak out in the face of injustice, right? To be the voice for persons who are afraid. And I can understand how your family would feel after seeing two men come into your house, two police officers who refused to identify themselves, who refused to present a warrant, just come into your house and knock you unconscious to the ground with a gun. So I can understand how your children are feeling and how your wife would be feeling. I can understand that, right? But this must not be a cause, it should not be a reason for us to stand against this injustice, because the only thing that would happen, Mr. Thomas, it will get worse. And this is why, I'm glad that you're here and that you continue, no matter how much the Prime Minister's office denies you, or the Community Relations Department denies you through Mr. Vanny Cohen. No matter how much you are denied, you continue going and you continue seeking justice and the interests of your family. And it is really, really terrible, that we have officers in the Royal Grenada Police Force that are not aware of what the laws are. So sometimes it is the ignorance of not knowing that is what causes these injustices, these violations of persons' rights, right? So in some cases, it is because they are just naturally, I believe, naturally possess the ability to be corrupt. And in some cases, it is the ignorance because they are not being trained properly, right? In many times, it is because they believe they do not have the answer to anyone, right? We do not have cameras in police stations. So if they throw 5 quick punches to your face, like what they did to Oscar Bartholomew, they could just simply say that this man, Mr. Curtis Thomas, fell down the step and he broke his ribs and fractured his skull. So this is what we want to get away from, right? We don't want Mr. Vanny Cohen or Mr. Edwin Martin coming onto the TV and just assuring us, oh, the police are working and using all these words that they use in there, all these big words that they're getting from whatever dictionary it is. That's not what we want. We want to actually see something happen, I would like to see Mr. Thomas gets his day when he can say that he has gotten justice. Ingram, Mr. Thomas made a report of a gentleman, and the thing is, it has a bad reflection. The consequences of police brutality, right? One can only imagine the consequences. Now, one consequence for Mr. Thomas is that one gentleman, right, came onto Mr. Thomas's land and parked his vehicle, right? He actually took a blugger tree that Mr. Thomas had planted, some blugger trees. The man actually rooted out the blugger trees in Graham, threw it aside, and made space to park his vehicle on Mr. Thomas' land. Mr. Thomas went to the Guelph police station to make a report. He was refused, right? He went to the CRD in town. He was refused. So imagine this man having to travel from Guelph to go to St. George's just to make a report when we have a police station right in Guelph. And these people are supposed to be taking reports. But this is
Can
what
you explain
happens.
Can you explain to people how far Gove is from the police station in St. George's?
Curtis, he want to know how far Gove is. How inconvenient is it for you to have to leave home and go to town just to make a report when you could just go to Gove? And he's not even staying in Gove, he's staying in Loreto. You understand? Just unmute his mic, let him speak, please. Just let him tell us how inconvenient all of this is.
Oh, by the way, the reason why the mic is being muted and unmuted is simply because of sound issues, that's all, and feedback. Just want to make that clear.
Curtis?
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to know how you feel about all of this and how convenient. Is this convenient for you?
Well,
To just be spending your time running from police station to police station just to try to get some justice?
a lot of times, Earl and Ingram, I had felt that I was going to give up because I knew it was a bit frustrating for me. Not a bit, but a lot frustrating to have to knowing that there is a station in Guav where I have to make reports, and I is making reports and not getting no satisfaction, no reward, no air to my report. So to travel to all roughly at least normal day would be about 30 minutes, sometimes 35 minutes from once the road is free, no big traffic, around 35 or maybe 45 minutes somewhere about there. And still when I travel down to Central to CID or what not to CID, nothing has been done still. Nothing has been nothing because
Mr. Thomas, as a gentleman that does farming, how does that affect you having to leave your crops and your animals and having to run behind the police to do something, and they just have you running from tongue back to Gove, back to tongue, back to Gove, back to tongue? How does that make you feel that they just have you running up and down the place?
well to be honest speaking, a number of time I had to pay visit to the doctors and so on, and as a result of that, whatever tests and so on run on me, claiming that sometimes I'm okay, so suggesting that I was having a lot of stress problem. It's a stressful situation for me, very frustrating, because even unto now, up to today, this afternoon, animal perusing the plantation, corn and so on, what I plant, animal eat them down already, and I don't make any report to the station, because who am I reporting to? Because the persons who owning the very said animal that distressing me is a corporal of police also, and his family members and so on. So who am I going to make this complaint to? And I'm telling you, I'm not feeling well as I'm here speaking with you, but I am fighting it. I'm asking God to keep me up, and I continue to keep my peace, do what I'm supposed to do until the day comes where justice would prevail. But I'm telling you, it's very much frustrating for me, because this is what I do for a living, to maintain myself, my family, to pay bills, and it's very narrow. I am making it because the things that are planned right now start being destroyed by the very said corporal and other members, animal family members.
Mr. Thomas, I just want to say that, you're a very strong man, you're a godly man, you're very patient. And, I really love to see that despite all the things that you've been going through, all the tears that you have shed in front of the police, in front of me, when you're actually begging to make a complaint to the police station, you know, with all the frustration. I know that the tears must come, you know, and to see how humble that you have remained and you have not attacked anybody or anything like that, you know. I just want to encourage you to continue doing it that way, you know. There are many other victims, just like you, like me, like the gentleman we had last week, like the other persons we would be having every Monday, you know. And as long as we allow persons to know how deceitful Mr. Vanny Cohen and these persons are, um, you know, persons will actually come together and unite. Maybe next time there's a protest in Grenada, you know, they would be actually standing for victims of police brutality as well, you know, because we do need the unity of our people. We need our police officers to be properly trained, right? Trained. Mr. Thomas, there's one thing you did not answer, you know, because, and I think you should answer it, because when I posted the struggle that you were going through, someone said, why didn't he get a lawyer? Right? And I was asking earlier, tell us what had happened. You know, just briefly tell us what had happened when you got this lawyer, right? From what was it, senior client's office. You got this lawyer, and you went into court, and the prosecutor, who was a police officer, referred to you as a thief. And then you said something, and then the lawyer said, "Oh, just let us know, please, what the struggles that a victim has to face."
Reminding me of this one. At least that particular day, I mean, I felt very bad when knowing that I have somebody representing me in the court, and give her all the information, give her a clip as to animal that were in the land before, distressing me. You know, so she had knowledge of what was going on before, because she had a video. And on that very said video, you could see the damage, the extent of some damages. You know, we couldn't get all because Sean couldn't take everything, because it was very little he could have obtained at the time. But he could have seen the evidence. The animal was there, and the destruction that was created there. And so she knew all that. And the prosecutor making the statement that I'm a thief in the. So I stood up and I asked him what, you know, concerning the tiffin. I don't remember what it was I asked him, but she herself said to me, "Shut up, you know. If not, she leaving me there and go." And that part of it again is very.
Mr. Thomas, hold on. Sorry. Just repeat that for me, please. The prosecutor referred to you as a thief.
You know, so
do you had any convictions of thief?
No conviction.
No convictions.
No, towards any of towards
so,
any.
So you stood up in court, and then you said what?
The lawyer asked me to shut up on 2 occasions. If not, she leaving me there and go.
Did you say the lawyer said to shut up, else she's leaving you? Because you defended, hold on. Because you defended your character?
Yes.
And the lawyer was supposed to be defending your character?
Exactly.
Yeah? Oh.
Yeah.
And you paid this lawyer, you had paid this lawyer?
Oh, yes.
Right. Okay. So you did go to a lawyer, and this is the kind of representation that you had gotten.
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, I guess that is why the police officers are so confident in.
Exactly.
I guess that is why they feel like they could break any laws. I mean, I guess that says it all. If they're not being disciplined by the commissioner of police, they're not being disciplined by Vanny Cohen and the CRD, they're not being disciplined by the Public Service Commission, They're not being disciplined by the Prime Minister, who's the Minister of National Security, right? They're not being brought to justice. They're not even being challenged in court by the lawyer of the complainant. So no, I can see why.
You need to also make it very clear, you need to make it very clear that the Prime Minister is not just over one area, he's over many areas. So he's like Lord of all things. So if you go one way, you still have to face him. Wherever you go on the island, you have to face him at the end. He's the top man, which means that there is a conflict of interest, or he just basically has control of everything. So that is a problem. There's no else to go on the island.
Of course, it is a problem. And one of the problems that we have also is that we have a man sitting in the community relations department, and he doesn't even seem to be familiar with the laws of Grenada. Now, today we were looking at a press conference that was done by the Royal Grenada Police Force. And one reporter asked the gentleman about the laws that apply to dogs, right? A simple question. And this gentleman, Mr. Cohen, had to beat around the bush and say, you know what, the people in Fort Judy also have their own regulations. He was not asked about the regulations of the private community, which cannot trump the law of Grenada, right? But he is saying, oh, well, you know, the law in Fort Judy, a pile of nonsense. This is the kind of people that we have in authority, right? They're not familiar with the law. And as a matter of fact, you know, let me just say that the police regulations clearly state, and I'll get the specific section for you. You know, although I am not being paid to know the laws, as the gentleman in the CRD who's been paid to know the laws and enforce the laws, right? He's unable to do so. Now, how can you enforce laws if you're not aware of what the laws are? This is the problem. Ingram, do you understand what I'm saying? This is why we have a problem. This is why so many persons' rights are being violated. This is why the police believe that they can just walk into someone's house at any given time at their pleasure. You understand? This is what is happening. Now, I want to encourage the citizens of Grenada, the civilians, to go online, simply go online and read the laws of Grenada, read the Constitution, know what your constitutional rights are. Go on to laws.gov.gd, go on to that and read the laws, and you will see the powers of the police. You will see the duties of the police. In fact, there's a section that Regulation 201 that says simply that when you ask a police officer a question, they have to answer in the most respectful manner. They cannot be abrupt. What's the
point?
Say that again.
What is the point?
The point of knowing the laws? Listen, the
laws don't work for you.
Ingram, the only reason that they continue doing what they're doing is because they are aware that persons do not know the laws, right? So they would turn them away. They would just turn them away, right? I have a slight idea of what is going on, right? I have a slight idea, and I have gotten further than most, I should say, especially when it comes to the police. All right. So I mean, I am testimony. Look, this is the situation. Let us empower ourselves by learning the laws of Grenada. Let us learn the laws. Let us know what our rights are. So our rights will not be trampled. They will not be violated by these lawbreakers, right? If a police officer decides to come in your house without any reason, right, we have to make them answer to it, right? If many other persons are coming forward and saying, you know what, this law was violated by this officer, And this officer has to be disciplined under Regulation 33, and it happens. This is a start. This is how we start things. But if we do not know what is happening, if we do not know our rights in ground, it's going to continue. It's going to get worse. Now, under Regulation 13, General Duties, it says that every police officer is supposed to know the laws of Grenada, all the laws of Grenada, particularly the police regulations. And the reason for that is so that they should not deprive a next person of their rights. That is what the law says. Now,
who is going to make a police officer or the superintendent or the commissioner or whoever responsible and accountable for not adhering to the laws? Because this is the problem. Who is making them responsible or accountable? Who is going to, you can't go to the ombudsman. So
we just had a protest Saturday. Grenada just had a protest Saturday, right? Because persons threatened to protest.
You call that a protest? You call that a protest?
No, you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Yeah, you're the get together. That wasn't a protest.
Right. Okay. So you know what I mean.
You know what I'm talking about.
They had one Saturday gone, and because of what the commissioner thought might happen, right? He actually came and did a press release on Saturday on 3 different newspapers in Grenada, right? So it shows the power of unity, right? If people can unite, right, according to the law and stand for the law, he will also have to account. Right, Ingram 708. You know, final words. So we wrap up. I have to jump out.
Kingsley James. Your sound. Where's your sound?
I'm here.
Okay, cool. So, to wrap up, there's been injustice in the UK, and one particular situation is where I'm not condoning this, but a police station was getting stoned. The members of public took things into their own hands. I'm not condoning this, but if this doesn't get sorted soon, you're going to have riots on the island. You can have riots on the island. Things have to change. Mr. Thomas, the question I ask you is, how do you sleep at night? I mean, how do you have flashbacks at times? And if you have flashbacks, how do you cope with that? And have you had any sort of counseling since this has happened to you?
Well, that's a very interesting question, Ingram. To be honest speaking, it has been very tough for me, you know, in those instances, because a lot of times I have a lot of sleepless nights as a result of those things, you know. Sometimes I actually get up and take up the my Bible and read and pray and so on, and ask God to keep me up, keep me away from going down the road of this frustration, destruction, and so on. Which I did, you know, get help, you know, and I continue to do it. Though at times, I mean, these few times frustration step in again, and you know, times that I would fall short of my book or so on, but I know that I would have to keep to it. But it's a frustrating moment for me all now. It's very tough to deal with because at night, sometimes I get up and can't sleep anymore, you know, knowing that whatever I plant, I cannot harvest it, and my families are depending on me. This is only what I have to put out, you know, for them and with the animals. Even as I speak now, that my life is under serious threat together with my family and my animals. You know, so you should know how I wouldn't able to sleep good at night, because I don't know the moment these threats and so on that I have been facing up would actually come to effect, you know, because gun was gentleman was it took 2 years to buy him a gun to kill me and my family and all my animals, you know. So that's a serious threat and call for serious and urgent concern. So these things, so I have to sleep with my eyes, one eye closed, one open, in the event that I could protect myself and my family as a result of my own farming and so on. So it's hard for me. It's a frustrating moment. I don't know. Keep asking me how I happen to do it, because knowing that people go through those moment periods and they get sick, but nothing wrong with me because I ask for help through the Mosai.
Okay, we're going to bring the show to a close. I'd like to thank once again Earl Maitland from the Grenada Empowerment Movement and Mr. Curtis Thomas for being so brave and so just tremendous strength to come on the show and to show such courage and to tell us his story. I pray for you and your family, protection for your family, and I pray that justice does find your family home and that you're guided and God is over you. And you know, just stay with good faith, my brother. Stay with good faith. So once again, Earl, thank you so much. Before we end, I want to talk very quickly about the GoFundMe. Earl, actually, let me bring Earl in to talk about the GoFundMe very quickly. Earl?
Yeah, Ingram. Yeah, so the Ingram, you have the GoFundMe posted there. Right, so you can post it. The GoFundMe would be used to assist the many victims that we have continued bringing to the Royal Grenada Police Force. It's going to be used to assist them with legal fees and so on. So we already have a lawyer who is going to be organizing and working for us, so we could try to bring it back to court. The thing is, you know, what I want to do is encourage people to start off small, start doing something small, start writing letters to the Prime Minister, start writing letters to the Governor General. Let them know that they need to take their job seriously, because there are many more persons like Curtis Thomas, right? There is Neilon Peters, who was killed in 2015. Still, to date, none of them have gotten justice. There are many more. Educate yourself with the laws, right? People do not have funds to get lawyers. So this is why the RGPF continues to refuse persons justice. This is why they refuse to pursue their legal obligations of pressing criminal charges against officers and so on, right? This is what is happening. So we want persons to continue looking at the shows and supporting the victims who have been badly abused, badly and consistently abused by members of the RGPF. We want to ask people to continue writing letters, letting the people in charge know that we want cameras on police officers and we want cameras in the police stations so we can see exactly what is happening, right? This might not stop these corrupt individuals from doing what they do, but I'm sure, I am positive it will decrease it, and it will allow persons like Mr. Thomas to get some justice when he goes to court. Too many times there's too much bias. There is one officer who is prosecuting and his colleague is the defendant. This is a problem, and this needs to stop, right? We need to get representation not only for the victims, we need to get legal representation to rewrite the laws of Grenada, to put things in place so we will no longer have police officers working in our prosecution department. We need to rewrite the laws so police officers would not be internal affairs at the CRD, just sitting there wasting time and deceiving the people. Right? So once again, Curtis, it's a pleasure seeing you. It's a pleasure to see how calm you always remain in the face of all this injustice. I know you're going through hard times. Even now, under those people in the Royal Grenada Police Force, I know that. But you know, is a remarkable thing that you could continue to keep a smile on your face. You know, and in times like these, Curtis, it shows our strengths, right? It shows our strengths in these times of struggle, you know, and it's a good thing because it shows them that no matter how many times they push us down, we will continue to come back, right? And eventually we will succeed. Nothing lasts forever. This injustice, it will not last forever. Eventually it will come to an end and we will be able to sensitize as many persons as possible and they themselves will stand with the victims, right? They will understand the struggles of the victims. They will have prevented, by doing so, they will have prevented other persons from becoming victims. And this is our goal here, right? This is our goal. So everybody that's tuning in, thank you. Ingram, once again, thank you. I know you're 5 hours in front of us. It is now very late in England, 12:18, is it? 12:18.
I've got a show to go and do. I've got a show to go and do in America next. Would you believe that?
Yeah, I want to thank you. I want to invite people to come back. Every Monday, I believe that we would be teaching people next week. We would be teaching people as to the laws of the Royal Grenada Police Force. So persons do not have to only assume, have a better understanding of what it means to hire persons, public officers, peace officers, to protect and serve us, the taxpayers and civilians. As always, I want to encourage everybody to be law-abiding citizens, obey the laws, but by no means allow your rights, especially constitutional rights and the rights of others, to be violated at any time. Peaceful protests, God is good. I mean, look at Mr. Thomas. He finds comfort in God, as a victim. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Right, so next week, Monday, Ingram, thank you. Curtis, always a pleasure to see you.
Thank you, and you too, and Ingram.
Don't forget, as always, BWTM online, smash the like button and join us next week, Monday, 8 p.m. And you never know, during the week, we normally do other shows as well. So make sure BWTM online, smash the like button on the Facebook page. And if you're on YouTube, smash the subscribe button. There's many more shows like this. Thank you and take care. Good night.